Hi, so what's coming up is a short summary of the content from the Gallus Events Does Hopin session that we ran on Hopin today. Unfortunately, you're not able to get the full Hopin experience because you can't be on the platform and checking all out, but you'll get loads from the content, lots of tips and a lot really good information about what Hopin's able to do at the moment and what it's planning to do. So I hope you enjoy the next hour or so and get loads out of what the platform is able to do. And a quick mention to say thank you very much to Victor and to Ross, who spent 90 minutes on the platform answering all your questions. So thanks so much, guys. Couldn't have done it without you. Enjoy the next hour or so, and I hope you get the most out of Hopin if you do choose to jump onto the platform. Hello, and we're live. Welcome to Gallus Events Does Hopin with the help of Ross and Victor today. Start with a little introduction. This is the main stage, and when I'm using this, we have this as kind of like our plenary room. And one of the main reasons that we use this stage for our plenary is that you're able to use an RTMP feed, which means that you can kind of bring it through some OBS or some other broadcast software to allow you to do different things with it. It's difficult to do that in the sessions because it's harder to use the OBS when you're coming in with that effectively live feed, but using the RTMP feed, there's like a 15-second delay, but allows you to do some things. So I'm going to be using some of the elements of broadcasting software called Ecamm Live on the main stage. So you can see, for example, at the bottom right, we can put little overlays. I'll be using them throughout the time I have with you. And the other thing that is really good about the main stage, and certainly came in to save my event a good few times last week, was the ability to play pre-recorded content. So what I'm going to do is just play a video for 4 or 5 minutes, maybe on loop for a couple of minutes, and then I'll open up the main stage again. I'll do a little introduction and then I'll bring on our speakers. So, first of all, I'm really pleased to be here, and I'm really pleased to be talking about an area within events that I'm really passionate about, which is online. Hi, I'm William Thomson, Managing Director of Gallus Events, and I'm so pleased that you're showing an interest in my Pivot Your Events to Digital online course. My course has one main objective, and that's to help you make as much profit from your online events as you did from your physical events. There are people who are making millions of pounds from online events, and I don't want to dwell too much on the point about how this can generate revenue for you, but it can. Over this 12-week course, we will reveal the secrets of running successful and profitable events. This is the most detailed and thorough online course for online events that will ensure that you lead the digital events revolution. I bet you have a few questions, and the first is probably, why should you listen to me talk about online events? And that is a really good question, because right now there are no shortage of people telling you how to run online events. But it's unlikely that any of these people have as much events experience as I have. I have been organising events for over 25 years, and for the last 10 years I have been working as an events consultant. That has allowed me to spend time with a whole host of organisations, helping them deliver both physical and online events. I have also delivered online events training for event professionals across the globe, including presentations in Beijing, Budapest, Barcelona, Madrid, London, Los Angeles and Pittsburgh. The Pivot Your Events to Digital course will have at its heart ensuring that you make money from your events. And ask yourself one question: why shouldn't you make as much profit from your digital events as you did from your physical events? Because online events are like physical events in so many ways. And if you are in the events business, your events have to generate revenue. So your next question is probably, what am I going to cover? We're covering what makes online events so good.
Now, I've been a fan of online events for about 10 years, and I'm a fan, I think, for 5 main reasons.
These are 5 things I'd like you to think about. Who's heard the term meeting design? Meeting design is how you structure an event, and I would say it's even more important that you use meeting design for an online audience than it is for a physical audience.
Before you start thinking about how to take your events to an online market, you have to make sure that the content is worth people spending their time or their money on watching.
Too often we'll see an online event and it's someone sat in front of a computer screen. But if you want to run an event where you've got the level of engagement that you do at a physical conference, you have to texturise the content. And not only in how it's looking, how it's presented, but the length of it. And what I've often found is that organisations start having hybrid events and they never think about how they have to support their speakers. I created an infographic for you because I had a 16-hour flight to get here. So I thought, what else should I do? And when I landed, they told me that I had to pay $1 for the image at the bottom. So I thought, if I'm paying $1, I'm using it at least 3 times on the screen. That's the type of resource that you need to think about if you're going to have successful online events or hybrid events.
So I hope that gives you a flavour of some of the practical things that we'll be covering, but we will also be looking at some of the strategic elements of your events as well.
So if you've come to this and you thought, oh, it sounds quite interesting, let's find out more about online events. What I'd love you to do is be able to have a plan and be able to implement a plan after this and say, well, actually, it sounds like there's some opportunity here for us, but why would we do it? What would our objectives be? So that's in the strategic part. I say to them, not just your online events, but why are you running this event? Why are you running that event? It's sometimes difficult to nail down the objective, but it's really, really important if you move into a new space or if you increase the amount of events that you're already running in the online space, that you know why you're doing it. So I came up with 7 objectives. So you can take one of these and say, we now know what it is that we're doing.
Now, until I release the course on the 1st of June, I will be running our regular Thursday YouTube sessions looking at how you pivot your events, and I will continue to test drive the newest online event platforms. My Pivot Your Events to Digital will be the most detailed and thorough course for anyone who wants to make revenue from their online events.
And that's it from me. Thanks very much.
Hi Victor, you're on now. If you want to just say a quick hello and an introduction, that would be fantastic. Make sure we've got
Hi everyone, Victor Cruz here. I'm the founder and CEO of VC Innovations. We are a digital content, marketing services and events business, running several bespoke and large-scale conferences in the fintech space. Our brands are underpinned by the creation, distribution, and amplification of digital content as a key part of our value proposition. A little bit about myself. I started my career in media and events back in 2008. Since then, I have held a number of senior positions at incumbent media players such as the Daily Mail Group, and General Trust, and Informa. In 2017, I founded my business, VC Innovations. We have been using Hopin for about 4 or 5 weeks. So far, we have run 10 micro bespoke events in the platform, 3 conference tests. And on the 10th of June, we have our very first virtual event with around 2,000 attendees already on board. That's me.
Events industry for 15 years. If you want to run events bingo, I have done SMI Group. I've been employed at IQPC, at Terrapin, at Clarion, where I formed a oil and gas events company called Oil and Gas Council. We ran that for many years. We diversified into energy, and then I sold my interest back to Clarion. After that, I took a small break from the events industry, and then came back once I discovered a niche looking at B2B fitness and wellness in Asia Pacific. For Hopin, we ran about 8 test events, testing different functions. And we've so far run 2 half-day events, each with approximately 1,500 attendees on each. Our 3rd event runs on the 27th of May, and we have learned the good, the bad, and the ugly. My 5 awesome things about Hopin: value for money. Look, I'm on the smaller subscription package, and Victor will talk later about the enterprise package. I pay approximately $99 per month per user, and I have 3 users, myself, my head of events, and head of marketing on the platform at any one time. It is cheap to run, especially for smaller events. For larger events, the ticket price is approximately 50 US cents per registration over 200. So for example, for one event for 1,500 people, I'm likely to probably get charged about 1.2 thousand US dollars. That's for registrations and for admin usage for the subscriptions I have to have. So for value for money, I think that's pretty excellent, to be honest. Networking, I know Victor will talk specifically about random networking. Hopin have also got this new function called video request networking. And if you look to your right-hand side of the screen, I believe, in the people tab, if you select a person, you should be able to, let me just pull this up as well. You should be able to see people and click on that one person. For example, Adam Parry is top of the list. and I can click to invite him to video call. So there is a function for you, if you wish to direct network with someone in particular, potentially a speaker afterwards. Third nugget, opportunity for us to profile sponsors and give sponsors visibility. There's lots of things that you can do here with sponsor branding, with booths, with session sponsorships, with polling sponsorships, with demos, with sessions, etc. There is actually a lot that you can do that I believe is a lot more valuable in comparison to something like Hey Summit. For me, sponsors are king, and so therefore this platform works for them. The other one, the fourth nugget, is the development plan of Hopin platform itself. We saw a lot of developments. We assessed this platform approximately 2.5 months ago, and we looked at the back catalogue of how Hopin had developed from only 12 months ago. In the last 12 months, it has developed exponentially, and already in the past 6 weeks, we're seeing some really good features. If that kind of momentum keeps up, honestly, in the next 2, 3, 4 months, this could be the platform you don't want to leave. Number 5, the bullet of wisdom would be actually it's not overly complicated or technical to run quite a basic event. We run 2 quite basic events, and they've met and exceeded our delegate and sponsors' expectations already. We haven't quite gone super technical with RTMP feeds. I don't think they're necessary in small events. However, what we can do initially with not a lot of planning is bloody good. That's my 5 bullets.
So the 5 things that I really like about the platform, it's interactive and agile nature. The platform really allows you to bring delegates into the experience. Super interactive, from the networking channel to the interactive sessions that we're going to test later today. The platform has great flexibility. So, for example, we run from really small workshops or fireside chats all the way to large events. So you have that option. I very much like the matchmaking tool, where you can essentially connect certain ticket holders with certain ticket holders. So you can curate that networking experience really well. I like that the platform allows you to give certain ticket holders access to certain parts of the experience, certain parts of the event. The RTMP mechanism that Will is using right now, I think it really allows you to uplift, your main stage content look and feel. For our event on the 10th of June, we're broadcasting live from the London Stock Exchange studios. So that's a really cool tool. I think this is a really important one for me. I very much like the people behind the business, from our account manager to the team on the sales, front. I think they're all very eager, to make to help and make this, make the business take off more than already is. And then as Ross alluded to, there's a lot of cool development happening. So the platform is evolving quite a lot, on a weekly, sometimes on a daily basis. So these are my five or 6 or perhaps 7 things that I like about the platform.
First one is that it is cheap. If you're hosting events on here, as Ross said, definitely it's not expensive to run events on here, and that's why I'm able to do an event for 150 people, which will probably cost me, I don't know, $30-40 or something like that. So it's going to be difficult to do this on other platforms. So that's a bonus for me. Second up is again the main stage. Without the main stage and the ability to play pre-recorded content, I wouldn't be on the platform. You have to minimise your risks as much as possible, and having the pre-recorded on the main stage really allows you to do that. I absolutely love the fact that you can create as many sessions as possible. A platform that I'm looking at for one of my clients is charging, believe it or not, up to $8,000 for extra session rooms. After, I think it's 6 session rooms, any extra session rooms, $8,000. So this is brilliant that you're able to create these almost infinite number of rooms. That's really important. I wasn't too sure about the networking function, which I hope you all get a chance to do. But my client, the event I ran last week, they absolutely loved it. And I think Ross has had similar feedback from his clients. It's kind of random. It's a bit speed networking, but my clients absolutely loved it. So I definitely think that's a bonus. And I think the last one for me is that you can record everything on the platform, everything that happens on a booth, everything in the session, everything on the main stage. And one of the big things I'm saying to any of my clients is that when you're running an online event, you've got to think about what to do with the content after the event and how you're using that. And Hopin allows you to do that by recording everything that's happening on the platform.
Thanks, guys. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about 5 kind of key issues or challenges that we've faced, and Victor will follow me with 5, and obviously then with William with a few. Look, one of the ones you'll probably recognise is maybe not having a prominent voice of God. So there's not really a huge shout out in terms of, you know, directing people to go to a certain place at a certain time. Now, what is available and what's maybe not utilised just now is at the top of the chat box, as the organiser, I can actually pin a quick announcement. For example, go to main stage now. And that can be pinned, only one can be pinned at a time until I want to replace it with something else. Now, that will act as your voice of God. We kind of realised this quite late on, but it's actually quite effective once people realise that's where they should look. However, I do think one of the developments in Hopin should be a case of having an explosive pop-up that says, hey guys, this is the agenda, this is the next session you have to go to. So like any other platform, unless you're really looking at where to go, you might get a little bit lost up in the agenda. Another downside, although maybe it's an opportunity, is you cannot play pre-recorded content in the sessions. It only works pre-recorded content on the main stage. And what we've realized, like William, is for our future big day-long events, we are likely to put pre-recorded sessions all day, or certainly all the way through on the main stage, and have them through an RTMP feed, so they're playing on schedule every single hour. And then we're going to focus our live interactive panel discussions, presentations, demos within the sessions. And so therefore we don't even have to look at the main stage. It just plays and plays and plays, and we focus on the sessions itself. Another one is probably in the registration or the reception page. So when you come into Hopin, as you'll see the icons on your left-hand side. The reception is essentially the walk-in hallway. Now, in that walk-in hallway, what we'd like to see is some type of an embedded hello message or video. And if that's there and people know to click on it, they can get a welcome message from the organizer, from the sponsors. We think that's a really good development that can happen. Once you sit in the reception, as many of you see, you'll see a couple of things going live, and you're a little bit maybe unaware if you're lost, if you're behind, if you cannot see something. We'd like, therefore, to be some type of embedded video here. Potentially is lack of sponsor hierarchy. You've got big sponsors, I've got big sponsors, you've got small sponsors, I've got small sponsors. It's set up in the sponsor logo session. We've got 25 major sponsors in our event. In that event, we can deliver a hierarchy of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way down to 25. And then Hopin will give literally a listing numerically of the top sponsor and the bottom sponsor. The problem is they all have the same visuality. They all have a small 2 cm by 1 cm block. We'd like to have big sponsors and then small sponsors done, just to make sure there's a little bit of differential there. The last one, which I'm sure Hopin are working on, I'm based in Singapore, and they do a great job of supporting clients in Europe and Middle East, and even the US. I can see that Erin's on here. She is bloody fantastic, by the way, superstar within Hopin. Thank you, Erin, for your help. But their lack of support in Asia Pacific is something to consider. Solution. They're just not awake at the times when my events might run. That might change, but again, something to consider if you're in Asia Pacific. Actually, we've only ever needed it once out of all the events. And so although it's something nice to have, once you're good at it, I don't think it's a need to have. That's my 5 cents.
Schedule, it's complicated for people to find what's going on. And I actually told all my attendees to ignore the schedule and look at the PDF schedule that we sent them. And that seemed to avoid some of the issues, but it was difficult to find things. It's a definite bugbear because it's not a huge issue, but it really, really annoys me. If you go into the sessions later, it says open, and open doesn't mean open as in you can go in. Open means it's not moderated. So that's confusing. So attendees think it's open as in something's happening, but actually nothing's happening. And the open means moderated and not opening and not open. It's confusing. It is expensive for tickets, and I know when I first did this about a month ago, I said to people I wouldn't even consider it for a platform that takes money, because I think it's around about 7% of your ticket fee that they're taking, and that's a lot. That's a lot. I think they're earning revenue from the subscription base, and I think that's really high. So I'm running it, and I'm bringing in all of my revenue, and then I'm inviting people to the platform. That is an option, but I do think it's expensive for tickets. And there's definitely a lack of customization when you're not on the enterprise solution. So that's my thing. So what I'll do now...
I pretty much second everything that you guys touched on, with a couple of exceptions, which I'll touch on. So the five key things that I dislike about the platform. I think the first one is a really important one for us, because we work primarily in financial services, is the browser access and firewalls. You need to ensure that your attendees are using a particular browser, otherwise the experience is going to be very, very poor. We've had loads of technical issues with different tests in the past, so keep an eye on that. I also dislike the lack of embedded widgets. We like to keep these experiences from registration widgets all the way to content within our sites, and you can't do that with the platform. You need to bring people into the platform rather than embedding the platform within a microsite. I think Ross touched on this extensively, but the IX and the UX need a lot of work, from the reception to the chat channels to the People's tab. I've seen a few people on the live chat here complaining about the notification mechanism. It's very hard to understand, or it's very hard to see if you have been approached by someone. So that needs a lot of work. And then lastly, I've got a couple more. The data tracking needs a little bit of work. You can track from an exhibitor standpoint. You can track who clicked on the dashboard call to action, but you can't track who visits your booth, and that's a big problem there. And then lastly, there is a lack of external comms within the platform, and it's very platform centric. There are no social media channels for amplification. So that's definitely one of the things that you need to consider when running events within Hopin too.
One interesting thing here, Will, can you see the moderation panel?
Yeah.
There are 5 people wanting to join the session there, which I'm not entirely sure they want.
That's the process that Hopin does. We can talk through that in a second as well. We people don't know the difference between participate and spectate, and that's why we would not go for this moderation.
Okay, great. Okay, well, almost everyone's over. This is a moderated session, so at the moment I can see there's the 3 of us on the screen that you can see, and then there's a list of people who've pressed that blue button that you'll see on your screen, and it changed last week. I think it now says press to share audio and video.
Yeah.
It did used to say participate, but they changed it. But 5 people have pressed that button, and maybe they just wanted to see what it did. Right? But what that actually does is it requests for you to effectively come into this to share, so we can see your camera. So I'm just going to ask. I'm just going to actually allow someone to come into the stage with us. So Sebastian, who's just so Paul, you're going to appear on the stage with us, okay? So this list has come up, and hi Paul.
Hello. Hi.
So what you did was you requested to come into this stage, and I can say yes or no because it's moderated. In the session we're going to look at next, it's completely open, so anyone can jump in and can jump off. But very briefly, I'll explain how we use it. We use this for our masterclass breakout sessions. So our speaker was presenting to the audience, almost like the main stage. He was presenting to the audience, and at certain points he was saying, "Does anyone like to come up onto the, let's call it the stage within this sessions, and ask me a question?" And he was bringing people up onto the stage and then sending them off again. That's how we use the moderated.
You can run this sort of session within the main stage as well, though, right?
Yeah, but only yeah.
And can you just say something about the browsers as well, to clarify, like which browsers are problematic and which ones work well? And
sure. And then I'll say goodbye, Paul.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
we'll head you off.
Yeah.
Should I take that one? Well,
Yeah, sure, Victor.
yeah. So I mean, have a chat with Hopin too. Originally, we were told that Chrome was the best browser for a seamless experience. However, yesterday we ran a test, and I had people on Safari and on Edge, and we had no complaints. On the very first test that we run, we had loads of problems. People not being able to watch videos or network or join certain sessions as contributors, such as this one here. So have a chat with them and see what they say. But yeah, that's my 2 cents on the issue. Ross, would you add anything to it?
Look, they specify Google Chrome is the way to go. Safari version 11 plus is better. They weren't compatible with Microsoft Edge, as far as we know, and so we've absolutely been steering people away from there. If you look to the right-hand side, folks, you'll see that there's the event chat and the session chat. You can click on the tab Session, and this is the Session tab that you're allowed to voice any questions that you have, so feel free to ask them there. To Luke's point, actually, I do think the volume, the sound problem earlier was the switcher. No disrespect to William that he was using. When we have used the main stage, the sound has been no problem at all. So I wouldn't be put off by the sound. William is trying to be very technical, which is great, and trying to make sure he shows you the full capability of the main stage. We used it pretty much like this. We used the main stage as essentially a panel discussion, and there was no problems with that at all. Jim, thanks for the question. We did not pre-record content for the main stage. We went straight in live with the content for the main stage, and that we found was very good. However, for a day-long event, we feel that with multi-stream sessions and a whole day of main plenary keynotes, we can actually better use them to be pre-recorded. One of the things that we are looking at, and I'm sure you've thought about before, we're going to be pre-recording some content from some heavy-hitting speakers in locations that our conferences would not normally get to speak to. So CEOs of huge US companies that Asia would never really meet at a conference and certainly never hear from, we can pre-record a Zoom or a Loom conversation with them and have that as a pre-recorded content. So our main stage pre-recorded content can actually step up a notch to be world class if you can deliver that. And that's what our goals is for our long day event.
Yeah, just don't have me in charge of the sound and it'll be perfect. Okay, any more questions?
Okay, so why have two tabs? One tab is for the session tab, and this allows you to ask questions directly to this session. If you want to jump into the event tab, it's general questions. Therefore, the moderator in the session can look directly at the session chat and answer questions that are coming up here in real time, Jim. So I think that's a really good development, actually. And of course, you can flip in between the session chats as you wish. You can also pin to the top of the session chat information such as the three speakers here are Victor, Ross, and William. So if you come into this session, you'll see that all you see in the session is chat with our speakers. Now, that's okay, but we can put in chat with our speakers, sponsored by JP Morgan, and then pin up to the top of it, here are your speakers. And that way it gives you direct information when you walk into this session, who sponsors it and who's speaking at it. So you can make it a little bit more informal a little bit more informed if you want.
Ross, I'm going to try that because I haven't used that before. So that's just, you can pin any. So I'll just Kira, you're being pinned to the top now. So when you scroll up, that doesn't disappear. Okay, so that is quite good, and I think a little bit of, as you said, a little bit of extra branding, because I do want to mention our experiences with the booths before we finish. But let's see if there's any more questions. Anything else, Victor, you want to cast a light on, do you think? I do think it would be worth you giving us a couple of minutes on what the difference between the enterprise and what you're able to do on the enterprise option. Would you be comfortable doing that?
Yeah, sure. So I think the key thing for me is access to an account manager. Someone that's really accessible, that understands your objectives, understands what type of product you're looking to put together. I think that's key. That's a key element. You also have access to something called a magic link. So if you don't want to use the registration channel within Hopin 2, you can use an external registration channel, gather the data, and then upload the data into the system to register attendees, essentially. So with us, we wanted our journey to happen within our website. We wanted to run an application process for our event on the 10th of June. So that's exactly what we did. And I found, you're talking about ticket sales being expensive within the platform. That's how you circumnavigate that issue.
Sure, no problem with pre-recorded content. If you're running it through the RTMP, you can just stream it directly onto there. How do you add pre-recorded videos to the live stage? That's quite technically challenging. You have to go through, like William said, the OPS back into a kind of a broadcast channel that broadcasts at a certain time, and it goes directly into there. You can do pre-recorded videos by simply just putting on a YouTube link. The problem with a YouTube link is once you have the main stage, it's up to the user just to press play. So it's actually play on demand. It's not actually live stream content. So the choice is yours if you want to do that. In terms of, sorry.
I'll take the setup. The setup process is really, really easy. And that would almost made my list of 5 things. And you could give me 60 seconds and I could set up an event. And that's really good. And they've set it up so that you can do that really, really quickly. It's simple and it's really easy to do.
When it comes to how many people in the video or audio, we've ran panel sessions on the main stage with 4 people, a moderator plus 3, and there have never been any bandwidth issues on moderator plus 3. And the sessions we've had between 4, 3+1, and 6, 5+1. And we didn't really have any problems with either of those on the sessions. What we found with the sessions, however, is because the session can get quite interactive with questions, and obviously the moderator wants to keep it interactive, we tended to think the best result is 4 people, 3+1. It looks better for the recording afterwards, so visually it looks better. Online, you can actually spend more time focusing on answering people's questions and engaging the audience versus having a kind of more internal focused panel that's broadcasting rather than interactive. So we think 4 is the magic number.
Okay. There's a question on limitations of number of attendees.
Stage is unlimited, 100,000 people we got told, so don't worry about numbers on the stage. Sessions, we were told, is 500 people in a session at any one time. Now, we've taken that as don't go over 500. However, in our first event, we had a problem with the main stage, and we actually ended up getting close to 1,000 people on a session. And so I think they're put there as a safety, but I think there's a little bit of a buffer there. But reality is, if you're going to have more than 500 people on a session, or certainly more than 750, that really should be a main stage content.
Great. A question from James: how easy is it for event organisers to administer their guest speakers? On the main stage, there is a little green room area which I haven't used because I've been using the RTMP feed, but you are able to kind of crawl together on that stage. When we used the sessions for our masterclass, we had a moderator who was in the room helping the speaker. They were there all the time. Dipti, who's actually on the chat, did that for us. So we were able to provide that support on the system, but it wasn't like a green room back channel apart from the main stage. So hopefully that's helpful. I agree. Someone said it'd be really good to be able to separate questions and chat. Absolutely, and most other platforms have a chat and a question. We said to all of our attendees, can you please start a question with a capital Q so it pops out a bit easier, because it is really difficult for me as the moderator trying to find questions. Ross, do you know, is that on their development plan?
I'm not sure. I mean, it's a simple thing. I'm pretty sure they could do it. I think there should be a chat direct to organizer. Look, admittedly, when we've had an event on with, our initial event with 1,500 people, it was a bit of a shit show, to be honest, on the general chat. You had a couple of people that were basically like, I can't see, I can't see, I can't see. And it ends up being that 3 or 4 people, are basically messaging a lot of stuff. That's understandable. So there should be something in there, but we found that for the second event, once people were more familiar with the platform, once we had briefed them properly on what to use, how to use it, where to go, we got better at the formatting and the explanation of where to go. The chat box in the event really became focused on the wider event. What we also found with the event chat is, honestly, it's what you make of it. So if you want to be interactive with the audience, we were doing things like, hey guys, like what's the first thing you'll do once you're out of lockdown? And you had every single person in the event chat give some really good interaction. We had it on the session chat, what's the most favorite thing you've watched on Netflix in the past couple of weeks? And you got some really interaction stuff on the session. So as the organizer, if you leave the session and leave the chat boxes, they can get a bit fucked up, if being completely honest, and they might look a bit negative. You can turn that around, but you've got to have someone. We literally got a sidekick. Her job is to focus on that chat, direct, answer questions, keep it positive, keep it interactive.
Great. One thing I've just done to show you, it's a contextual cell, but what I've done is I've inserted into the chat a link to my training course. And I think that's something that's really good for you. So if you've got a speaker, you could say to them, can you give me 5 things that are extra resources that we can link to? And what you can also do there, for example, if you've got a speaker, you could be inserting links to your sponsors' white papers or website or documents. So it's quite good if you all just click in. If you were to click onto that link, it would take you to the link. So it's quite good to do that. Right, guys, we're going to try the Wild West now, and we're going to come out here and we're going to go into the completely open session. So all of you lot, just leave here, jump into the open session, and you'll see how it's a little bit different. I can't stop you coming onto the screen. Well, actually, I think I can as the moderator. We'll find out. Well, it's the Wild West in there. We'll see you over there in a couple of minutes. So,
hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, yeah.
Oh, you've made it.
It's going to get really busy in here. Hi, William.
Yeah, I've set it up to 10, so there's 10 places. Hi, Paul.
Hello again. Sorry.
Hello.
Gosh,
It worked.
Hi, Joe.
Hello.
And Ross and Carolyn. And
hello, Carolyn.
Hi, Caroline.
Hi,
Good to see you. Hi, Julia.
Many faces. Hi, Julia.
I've set this up for 10 spaces. Victor, do you know, because I've heard conflicting, can this go to 20?
I don't think so. I think this is capped at 10, but I can pop out and let someone else experience it.
I'll pop out as well. There's plenty of us in here.
How do I leave?
So yeah, you can see how you have to imagine how you can best use this, because it is difficult. It is difficult to manage, and you can give people tips to say, everyone has to mute unless they're going to speak. Raise your hands if you want to speak, but it can be a little bit messy in this format. We use this for our open bar drinks reception, and it went down really well. So and if you think about it, it's no different. Hi, Donna. It's no different really than a round table at your physical event where anyone can speak over anyone else. So it's not like it's a lot worse. It's just a difficult environment to have when we're when you're in this digital world, when you can't read other people.
Richard is sharing a video.
I'm just streaming a video just to see if that works. Yeah.
Is that
There's no audio on it though.
Yeah, sorry, that was just me seeing if I could stream video content through my virtual webcam.
Okay, so we can't use.
We've been sharing this, testing this system, and we found that we can't share audio when you screen share.
Okay.
So if I
had the same thing with Crowdcast, and I had to use something called a voice meter to basically separate the audio inputs and combine
on
them.
a screen share.
Sorry,
Yeah.
what was that called?
So I voice meter. So I basically screen shared. We've had ads in our conference, and I screen shared from the application window, the media player. It played the video, but no sound would come through, so I had to use that voice meter to basically channel both voice inputs into one output.
Thanks.
I think. But if you try that, it should work. It does get a bit confusing because you do get a bit of an echo though through you have to have headphones or something in to make sure it's all sounding right. But it can be done.
Well, just to let you know, we've got 5 more minutes in here, so I'm just going to see if I can invite Victor back on, and if the rest of you jump off, and then we'll finish a couple of minutes on our chat, and then you can head into the other sessions, which is set up exactly like this. We've also set up the session so you can have a kind of group chat with Victor or a group chat with Ross. But I've actually got to go because someone's told me there's a platform that's really, really good, and they're showing an exclusive demo at 3 o'clock. So I've got to head off in 5 minutes. But I'll leave the platform in everyone's hands. Okay, guys, is there anything else that you want to quickly say before you break out into your little rooms and we let people have a good look round?
We use this open format for our first event, and so we created, I think it was 4 sessions, 4 very general topics, and let people jump on and just, like you say, a kind of a Hail Mary approach. In reality, for me, it's not the right decision. I think for a social networking function, it's great. For real high-end content delivery and networking, it's just too big a risk. And the reason being, there's too many people that are jumping on that don't realize they're jumping on, that jump on and perhaps have got bad sound, bad audio. They don't know they're on, and so therefore you're getting a lot of background noise, and so it's pretty difficult to manage. For a social occasion, fine, but look, we tried it with a really high-end content, and the feedback we got was interesting, but you're literally giving the quality and the result of your event into the hands of other people. Now, if you want to transfer your destiny to some other people, go for it. But we like to be, in reflection, we want to be in control of our own destiny of the event. And so therefore, we wouldn't run a moderated or open session. It would be a closed session with invited speakers only. That's how we think. That's how we even work now.
Yeah, I'll second that. I mean, the interaction element it's fantastic, but interaction and chaos together it's probably not a good combination. I totally second that.
I agree. It worked for our bar. And one of the things I tried to do was to allow a dedicated space for particular attendees. We had kind of enterprise tickets on our event, and I tried to set up a room that would only allow people in who'd bought an enterprise ticket from that company to give them their own space within the platform, so that no one else was able to come in. All of the attendees from that company could meet in this room and have a chat. And that was quite good. I couldn't quite get it to work. I don't know if it was my problem or there was an issue with those sessions, but I thought that was a really good added bonus of having these sessions where you can have them completely closed off. And as we were saying about the tiering of the networking, when people can only meet certain people, it's the same with the sessions. You can set this up so that only people who've bought a particular ticket could come into this room. So that's really good for tiering. So for example, you could have free access to your main stage, but if you want to break out into any of the sessions, you have to buy a $99 ticket to be able to do that. So it's quite good. I think it does give you a little bit of flexibility with the sessions.
Jacob, the session recordings are recordings if you want. So for sessions, main stage automatically records. For sessions, you have to opt in to record the session, I believe. And if you want to, afterwards, you can download the whole session as a MP4 file and also download the session chat as our text.
And just to say before I head off, I'm going to play a little bit around what we are able to draw off, and I'll probably upload an hour or something.
Okay, hi folks. As you can see in the session chat, I'll wait. If you want to jump in, please press participate. I know that Beta, you're waiting for approval to join. If you want to just click on that again. And the same with you, Victor, I'll just allow you. Apparently I am the moderator in this, I wasn't aware. So if you want to click participate, we can get you guys straight on again. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, folks. Hi, everyone. For those that are just joining us, if you want to, I believe you should see in the top right of your box a participate button. If you want to jump in face to face and have a chat, you can. Otherwise, you can look at the right-hand side of your screen in the session box, and you can type in any questions that you want. So let me know if you want to jump in and be part of the session, or just quite simply write some questions into the session box if you can. One of the things that we did saw that was quite interesting, again, coming back to what we just said, this is a kind of a grey area where the moderator or speaker kind of has to make the best of it before the session begins. So, for example, I can ask you, hey guys, choose one word to describe your year so far. And then if you can, go to the session box and write one word to describe your year so far. So if you can do that, please. Just type in anything you want. One word, crap. There it is. Yeah. JPen, enterprise details, I'll share with you in a second. JP, different, chaotic, corona, learning, challenging. This is the kind of interaction you can have with a moderator or somebody that is good at bringing the conversation to this. So if this is you, I would suggest that you're trying to pull in conversations about this every so often. Look, my experience so far, JPen, has been on the non-enterprise details. To give you an idea of the enterprise costs, you're looking at approximately 10K for the year, pound sterling. So it's quite a jump up, to be honest with you, if that's something that you did want to invest in. For us personally, we weren't sure if Hopin was the platform we were going to use long term, and so we devised a 4-event strategy, 4 half days, and that would give our sponsors, speakers, and network a chance to use and test out the platform for us, essentially. So far, so good. And so I think we are obviously keen to keep on with the Hopin platform, but I don't think yet that we need to have the enterprise solution. Have you used the expo side of the platform? Yes. We actually have 60 booths in our half-day summit. With a booth, you've got 2 options. You can preload a YouTube or Vimeo link, or you can have a live booth. Now, my personal opinion is have the preloaded video, so the booth acts essentially as a promotional video and meeting point for people wanting to know the sponsor. If the sponsor is keen to talk to people directly, we would not suggest a live booth for big events that have more than, say, 20 or 30 booths. People cannot find a way around the exhibition. There's too much choice. Not going to stumble upon someone who's doing a live booth. You would pull that live booth and you would give that exhibitor a demo within a session, and that's what you would sell them, as a demo within the session. It's a lot easier to sell and point them towards. That you can add documents. Look, we can, in the session chat room here, also in the event chat, you can put in links to PowerPoints, links to PDFs. You can upload that if you're an attendee. You can upload your LinkedIn email address, and so therefore you can have people connect in that one way. One thing you can do here as a potential sponsor, say this is a sponsored session. Again, I'll just choose a bank, Bank of America. Hi, I'm Ross, Bank of America. Great to have you all here. We've just released a research report on, I don't know, something finance. Can you put your name and email address here, and we'll email you the report straight away afterwards. And what happens is the emails come in, and as the organizer, I can go into the back end after this, and I can actually download the session chat, and I can give that text to the sponsor, Bank of America, and they have the email addresses of everyone that wants to gain access to that. And let me just go through the questions here. Booths are sponsors. 2 types of essentially sponsor visibility: sponsors and booths. Sponsors have slightly more visibility in terms of logos. It's basically a logo and a hyperlink. That's all they get. They get it on the registration page, and they get it in the pre-event registration page and the on-site reception page. The virtual booths sit below them. Whether or not you have a sponsor as the same exhibitor or different is entirely up to you. You can choose to have anything that you want. It's your conference. With NAW exhibitors can't add the content themselves. Great question. organizer essentially has to manually add in the content of every single sponsor. Once you know what content you're looking for, there's about 8 pieces: strapline, blurb, URL, point of contact email, promotion if you want it, and a video link. Now, it takes about a minute to copy any booth that you want. So it is a little bit of work. Yeah. Does it take a lot of time? Honestly, not really. You can also ask for specific image sizes, and they can put those image sizes both in the booth and also in as a landing page reception, as a landing page on the booth. So there are ways around it. We found it quite tedious to get those 60 booths up, if I'm honest with you. One thing that does do quite well, when you copy over an event, we tended to have our big event and we copied it over for our second event. Everything is copied over, so you can actually copy over all of the booths and all of the sponsors. The one thing that's not copied over, if I'm correct, is the picture of the booth. And so therefore you have to go back in and add the picture of the booth and the logo of the sponsor. So in the copy and paste of event to event, it does work to minimize your time, but of course there is a little bit of thing that you have to do in the back end to make sure that works. Just to confirm, the booth can be automated. The booth can be literally left on its own. Once it's up, it's up. You don't need to do anything about it. Now, say for example, it's my booth, my email is there. What tends to happen is if somebody comes to my booth and if they say, they can look at my booth, they can look at the information, they can play the video, and they can request information from the booth. If they request information, what happens is an email gets sent directly to me as the named exhibitor representative, and an email says, "Hi guys, just to let you know that William Thomas has inquired about your booth. Please give him some more information." If you are in the event in real time, like I am now, what happens on the right-hand side is you'll have this tab saying exhibition, and in the exhibition you'll get a little message saying, "Hey, William's just requested information." You can direct chat with William directly there. So even though you're not live in the booth, you can actually have conversations directly with somebody that's come into the booth and maybe requested information. You can also send a message in the booth, and if that happens, it also pops up there. Once that happens, as an exhibitor, what I would do, I'd see that message and I'd request a video call quite simply, or a video or email them directly. So there is ways around getting it around. The live booth is tough. To give you some stats, we had 60 booths. We had a half-day event, 1,500 people, and the numbers of people coming to the booths were quite minimal. I think our top sponsor in terms of requested information got 25 requests. Now that's because it wasn't really pushed on them as something that we could do. And for those of you that, I think I left a message, the way around that for the booths is to try and gamify the booth. So for example, as the organizer, I would say, okay guys, I'm going to donate $50. You've got half an hour. In this half an hour, you're going to visit the exhibition, and I'm going to give you a task. I'm going to donate $10 to this charity for every single person that can go around every single booth. And in the booth is a small word, and that word, for example, is hey, ho, Christmas, whatever. And you've got to send back to me all those 25 words. If you do that, I'll give you 25% off your next conference. Now, you can gamify it that way, so people go to the booths, they go around every single booth, and they try and join the puzzle up. That's one way we're going to do it for larger scale exhibitions. What are the experience in persuading sponsors, exhibitors to pay for their space? Great question, Angus. Strangely enough, we've taken our existing physical event sponsors and we've given them a free ride on our test events, on these first 4 events. Now, what that enabled us to do was gain a little bit of goodwill capital, allowed us to create events of scale and size, and it got their buy-in for using the platform straight away. We also didn't have to apologize if things went wrong. What we did do on the top of that was then email our network and say, hey guys, do you want to sponsor the conference and join us with all these other fantastic companies? Now, we didn't know what the response would be. And as of yesterday, we signed a deal for 4,000 Singapore dollars and 2,500 Singapore dollars for 2 companies to have essentially branding in our conference, a virtual booth in our conference, a shout out on the event chat to push people towards their booth. They're going to co-sponsor the polling results. We're going to name their name like we do in a conference. And they're going to be included as a panel speaker in one of the sessions. And so can you monetize this? You actually can, to be honest with you. We've just had 2 deals in that just given that. Can you edit ad registration fields? GMF Live, thanks for the question. Are you talking about, okay, so this is about general registration, GMF Live, if I don't mind asking. So general, yes, okay. No, if you're not on enterprise. If you're on enterprise, answer is no. What you end up getting from Hopin is the name of the person and the email of the person, and you get what's called the headline. Now, the headline of the person, if I click into people and I see the first person, I just spoke to Caroline Morgan. Her headline is Digital Media Strategist and Non-Exec Direct. Now, that's what I get from Carolyn. If I went to someone like Adam Perry, the headline I would get is Editor of EventIndustryNews.com. So the information I get from this is quite basic. The way around it, quite honestly, is to keep your Hopin event private, and therefore you go through your own ticket system on your own website or through your own ticket provider. We use something called TownScript, and so that's our normal provider. It's embedded into our website. And what we're going to do for our commercial events, for ticket price and monetary, they use the TownScript system. Once they have used the TownScript system and paid us the relevant fee, what we do is go back into the back end of Hopin, and we email the delegate the link to attend the conference. And what that allows them to do is they themselves are directly linked to that conference. The conference is private. You're not giving Hopin any commission for your money. You're just using your normal payway gateway for registration, and you're just emailing people either a guest VIP link or the delegate link for them to jump straight in. Dipti, yes you can. James Smith, TownScript is a bit like Eventbrite, if I'm honest with you. TownScript is our ticket registration platform. The way that works for us, instead of going to an Eventbrite page, we hate that. We don't want to go outside of our website. TownScript is our registration platform that we can actually embed as a widget in our own website and our own events page. So it looks like it's part of our process. They do the invoicing, the whole works, right? So we use TownScript. We just go, whether it's Eventbrite, whether it's your own registration system, just use that as per normal, and then email the hidden link to the delegate that's just registered. Can you confirm whether the contact details of people that visit the stand will be shared with the stand owner? Yeah, not. This is the fall down. Not really, if I'm honest with you. So if someone, for example, if someone steps into the booth, I don't know about it as the booth owner. It's not something that's visible to me. The only way that I know if somebody comes into my booth is 2 ways. One is if they request information and their email and name is shared with me, or if they chat with me directly and then I can gather the information from them. But as an exhibitor, there's no, if you will, automated lead generation from anyone that walks into your booth. That would be great, but it's not quite there yet. Hold on a second here. How to organize a registration from own ticket. Yeah, JP, I think I just addressed that question with James. Use whatever platform you normally use to sell tickets on your event. Use that same platform, and then for us, it's in our website. It's in our website. So then, for example, JPen, sorry, I don't know if you're Latino. JPen has registered for the conference. I then go into Hopin in the back end, and in the event on the left-hand side, there's what's called invite attendees. I would invite you, JPen, to come and register yourself into the conference. No one could see the Hopin event apart from you or anyone I sent that link to. JFM Live, hold on. So they register twice. No, they register. Okay, so good question. This is how to minimize cost and minimize commission. So I would keep the Hopin event free of charge, but private and by email only. And so therefore there's no registration costs for Hopin for a small event. You would register them on your platform and direct them to register as a guest in your Hopin event. I hope that's made a bit easier, GFM Live. You can then get all the data and your normal data registration fields from your own ticket provider or your own website, and then you just funnel the guest link. You're probably thinking they could then just forward that link to somebody else. No, because it's an invite-only conference, and you've only invited them by the person that they want to register. So, for example, if it's me, the email goes to ross@thefitsummit.com. I click on that, I'll register to the event. I can't have 2 or 3 Ross Campbells registering to the same event. So there are ways and means around you maximizing data registration fields and minimizing commission of Hopin, and that's keeping it private and invite only to the people that are registered for the event. When doing it that way, do they need to register again? Good question, Hannah. Reality is every person that uses Hopin has to be registered to Hopin in the first place. So they have to have an account. So once they buy their ticket, yes, they do indeed, if they've never used Hopin before, have to register themselves onto Hopin. As I hope you realize, it's not that taxing. And I think a lot of people, by the time you might run your events, will have already used Hopin as a platform, so it's quite familiar. If you already have a Hopin account, once you've got that link, you just press attend. And it's as simple as that. It's a one-click process if you're on Hopin as a previous attendee. So someone could take more tickets than purchase, JPen. Again, great question. No, if you're only inviting the delegate itself. So again, it's very important that you choose the event not to be public, and I think it's private by invite only. And so therefore, the access to that one delegate is linked to that one delegate's registration and membership on Hopin. So for example, I can register to the event, but I can come into the event, but if I give my details to 3 of my colleagues, they can't have 3 Ross Campbells on the platform at one time. They have to register themselves in order for me to send them the link to come into Hopin. Hope that understands. Can you open the event up for networking prior to the day, evening before the session opens? Great question, Melanie. Hopin, I believe, gives you the flexibility of the event running for 48 hours. So you can run the event for 48 hours. So a 2-day event is possible, a 2.5-day event is possible as well. Once you go beyond that, I believe they start counting it as a different event. You actually can, once you register into the event, I think some people, and we've saw this in the chats, can go in and start networking, etc. But nothing's live unless you set it up, Melanie. So it's entirely up to you if you want to try and set up a networking session beforehand. And if you can do, then absolutely, why not? You can just set that up as we're going to be live for 2 hours the night before the main event. Please click in. All we're going to have open is either a session for bar drinks, and then exhibition is closed, the stage is closed, and networking is open for face-to-face networking. So you can do that if you wish. Jacob, I think I asked you a question before video. Yeah, with it in Kachuda, so the person afterwards can just hold on. A bit late here, Singapore. Sorry, Jacob. I asked you about it before and answered it. Yeah, great question. I think for the session, it basically, the way the software works, it basically records the screen as it is going on at the moment. And whether you have a shared screen, whether you're developing a presentation, whether there's 4, 5, 6 people up there, I think it pretty much records the screen as seen by the attendee, which tends to be the block, like a Zoom call. I don't necessarily think, if you're doing a panel format, it's going to go into a panel format recording. If it's going to be a speaker and their presentation, and whether they share the screen, I believe it does actually happen as the person that's controlling the screen. So as a controller of the screen, it will record whatever you show. If there are guests, do exhibitors get I think, Joe, I think we just alluded to that earlier. No, if I walk into the booth, there's no way for me, there's no way for the exhibition booth to gather my leads. There's no like, hey, nice to see you, Ross. Why don't you leave a business card here? Not there just yet, but hopefully that's something that happens in the coming months where you can just leave your details and there'll be a function to that. But at the moment, you can walk in and you can walk straight out and no one will know if you've ever been there.
Do the reminder emails, registration emails have to come from Hopin? Great question, Jenny. We realised that Hopin's registration emails are shit, to be honest with you, and their engagement of people is shit. And so therefore what we have done is we've come up with a strategy where if you register for the event, we'll send you yourselves a quick confirmation email just saying, hi, thanks. One day from the event, 1 week from the event, we'll make sure that you've done all the steps that you have to do. We've also composed a video, and the video essentially talks people through. Let me just see if I can, hold on folks, let me just see if I can pull up our Loom video when I'm talking to you here. We created this video. It wasn't difficult, it wasn't uneasy, it just took a little bit of time, and we've shared this with people as and when they come in. I'll just type it in the little box here. Hopefully that pops up in the chat box. Yes, it's there. We created this from Loom, and we gave it to every single attendee as they signed on, and essentially it broke down the barriers for them to realise what to expect, how to make the mess of the platform. A lot of people come into the platform and wonder what the fuck's going on. This is a kind of an icebreaker, and we shared that in an email. In the email, we also were very, very candid with our information. Use Chrome, make sure your webcam and microphone are working, and you're in a quiet room while you do this, and any other instructions. We only gave 2 or 3 instructions, folks, just to make sure it was easy. Can you automate the invite links with registration emails? Not that I know of, JPEN, sorry. It's not quite there yet. I think they're looking to try and get some APIs in, again, to ticket registration platforms or using Zapier. I think it's not quite there, and I believe they're working on it more for enterprise clients than anything else. So I'm afraid it's a bit manual, but that's just the way it is. Is there a video we can send to attendees before the intro that outlines? Great question. JFM Live, have a look at the Loom video and have a look at that. That shows exactly what we're doing. In actual fact, you can set it up yourself, so it doesn't have to look like it's come from some other event. You build your event, and then you get people excited by sharing that kind of link. Can the attendee come to 2 events with 1 ticket sale, for example? Not sure on that, JPEN, if I'm honest with you. They can come to any event that you give them a link to, so it's entirely up to you if you want to issue them with 2 links to go to both events. Yeah, look, lots of signposting. Amanda, look, we in our first event, we actually never used the pin. We didn't realise there was a pin function on the session or the event chat, so we were honestly a bit blind. When we realised the pin was there, it really is a bit of a, not a game changer, but it's certainly incredibly useful. And once people get used to looking at it, it's very, very valuable indeed. One of the other tips to use for exhibitors is that exhibitors have to be proactive about marketing who they are, what they're doing, and why people come to the booth. If you have exhibitors that are not emailing people in the event chat or inviting people to come to the booth or giving them a reason to come to their booth, you're going to find that some exhibitors, like any exhibitor in a physical conference that doesn't interact with people, are going to sit there scratching their ass for the whole purpose of the event. You've got to brief your exhibitors to make sure they're saying hello, they're giving people a reason to come, and also that they're for example, leaving their email address or leaving their LinkedIn URL for people to connect directly. Is it possible to monitor and share details of people attending sessions? A good question, Richard. I don't think people can see. Good question. If I was to go out now, I'm not saying you do, go out now into sessions, and you look at the sessions, there's a little eye icon that shows you how many people have gone into this session in total, but not necessarily reflective of how many people are in this session just now. So if I clicked out of sessions and clicked onto this, you might see in the eye 100 people. But the reality is, if I click into it, there's only 38 people here. So it's kind of possible to monitor how many people are in. As the event organizer, I can see exactly how many people are in this session, which is 39 people. Can all the pins be set in advance? Good question, James. You can do. Once you set a pin, you can then, the way it works, for example, is I can start, for example, pin. I'm going to send that pin. So I'm going to put it here. So I'm not the event organizer, so I can't pin. I can pin up to the top. I then have to overwrite that pin. Only one pin is allowed. So I have to go in, write a text, and then say overwrite, and it will replace the pin directly. So should you write them? Entirely up to you, but honestly, you can just write them on the fly. Does the pin just take text, or can you add logos? Just text, Amanda. We have asked for the addition of logos in the next development plan, and hopefully logos will come in both to the text, to the actual session itself, and also to the polls. One of the things we did find quite useful in the first event, I'll give you two scenarios. In the first event we ran, we did a poll question at a time. We did one poll question, and we were directing people to that question, giving them 10 seconds to do the question, and then coming back out. This was on the main stage. And so what we had was some really interactive live poll results, one after the other. In the second one, we pre-read all of the polls and just asked people to go in there and do them all. I'll tell you straight away from the organizer's perspective, preload all the polls. Don't start doing poll by poll by poll by poll. It's just something else to worry about in the day. That being said, the polls are invaluable. Please use them. 6 polls. You can really get a lot of value and benefit from this. I will try and just, hold on a second. Let me just see, folks, if I can pull up a quick link. Apologies for doing this on the fly. So we've done a post download page. Let me just pull this up. So after our event, we did let me just get this down, summit rankings. Okay, hold on a second here, folks. I'm just going to pin this link just now. This is our download page of what we did with the session recordings directly after our event. So if you want to have a quick look at this, this is how we displayed the content to our attendees directly afterwards. If we were a sponsor for a session, is it possible to share the details of the attendees with them afterwards? That's entirely up to you if you're a sponsor. All you're going to have is a name and the email and the headline. And what we found with the first test event, like this event, the headlines weren't so descriptive. On the second event that we ran, people realized that they had to get their headline right. So instead of me saying fitness fanatic, it was Ross, CEO of Fit Summit. And so there's more data. You can share that with whatever you want to do. It's up to you. How many moderators do you scale per number of attendees? Any additional AV support beyond Hopin? Okay, so the way that we ran our last session, we briefed the moderator quite well. We had a moderator plus 3 in every session, so 4 people. We also allowed a 5th person into the event, which was one of our members of staff. And so what they did was they introduced the session, made sure everything was right, and then they left the session and left the moderator and the 4 speakers just to kind of go at it, and it worked really, really well. It's also a fallback in case the moderator falls away or gets something happens to him, and then you're going to be A-OK. Additional AV support? Nope, on your own, sorry. Coming back to the link I've just sent you guys, you'll find in that link, at the bottom of that page is how we've discussed the polls. Now, as an organizer in reflection, we're going to have those sponsored in the next event that we run on the 27th of May. So we can upload that as a JPEG over a PDF. We can have it sponsored and we can push that out directly after. We also give that to the sponsors. So for example, 6 results sponsored by Deloitte. Use that for their own people. We use that as our site, and it's something a little bit extra for us to push out on the post event. So there are ways and means that you can leverage the polls for interaction afterwards and sponsor engagement. Okay, folks, it's 9:30. So I think what's going to happen, you're going to see the session button go unlive. That basically means the session is over. Hopin will give you about 5 minutes of flexibility, and then pretty much it will cut the session off. So if you are an organizer, make sure that the session is timed in your schedule exactly as you wish it. Make sure the moderator knows that at some point you're going to get cut off. All right, guys, I'm going to type my email address in here, which is ross@thesummit.com. Yep, there you go. feel free to ask me any questions afterward, guys. And look, I'm happy to share ideas. We've been on it for 6 weeks now. We've been looking at it for 2 months, and we've used it a lot. So we're not experts, especially when it comes to enterprise, and especially when it comes to using the full capacity of the RTMP stream. But on the other stuff, we've pretty much got a good formula for it. All right, guys, I know I'm eating into your time. Thank you very much. All the best from Singapore. Let's kick ass this year, virtually if we have to. Really appreciate your time. Really appreciate your questions and that. And look, I wish you and your team and your family every single best. So I'm going to leave. All the very best. See ya. Okay, bye-bye.